Hey there everybody, it's Mark Curley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to draw a Chibi hug, also known as the classic Glomp. And it's sort of in honor of Valentine's Day, but I want to do this in such a way that it could be viewed and made use of at any time of year. I'm going to begin by laying down a few basic guidelines, and then I'll come back so that we can get into more of the details. Okay, so I just wanted to pause for a second here because we're kind of covering a lot of ground here, give you a few tips. One thing I forgot to mention is that I had put these two parallel lines, you probably noticed that at the beginning, just a little bit slanted upwards from left to right. And you're starting with as close as you can get to a perfect circle. Nothing wrong with tracing around something if that's what you need. And then otherwise you can see that the body is quite small for this female character compared to the head. That's one of the classic Chibi traits. So this is going to be the ponytail. Everyone knows I love to draw these characters with ponytails. And yes, she will be wearing a sailor suit. I don't know, I got to break free of this stuff. One of these days we'll do Chibi with like jeans and a t-shirt. How about that? In any case, that is the female character. She's running forward. She's going to be glomping this guy from behind. And now it's time to move on to drawing the male character. Let's get into it. So we've got the basic guidelines now for both the female character and the male character. I'm going to do just a few final ones before we start getting into the details. It's just going to be the lower part of each of the heads and then the eyes. Okay, so now that we've got the basic guidelines in place, I'm going to zoom in a little more, and we're going to start going through more of the details, this time in real time with me sort of giving you some tips as I draw. I'm going to begin by darkening in these eyes. These are the sort of classic happy eyes. Some people will make them very rounded. I tend to make them, give them just more of a gentle curve, slightly thicker on the outside than on the inside, towards the where the nose would be, and which, of course, there is no nose in the Chibi style, or most of the times. I suppose some people will get a little hint of a nose in there. What I like to do is do a second line, which is the fold of the eyelid, and I think that just sort of adds to the look of ecstatic joy that glompage can bring to both parties involved. This is a tricky part, actually, adding the eyebrows. It's the tilt of the eyebrows that I think is can be a little tricky to get right. Every little slight change in the angle of the eyebrows changes the feeling that is conveyed in the facial expression. It's a very delicate thing, and I think people who get into drawing the human face soon come to realize how important the eyebrows are in conveying emotion. I'm going to erase here a little bit. That initial guideline of the perfect circle was just, I always like to start with something that everyone can agree on, right? Circles are circular. You can repeat a circle again and again, and it'll always be the same. Whereas if I say, draw an oval that's kind of like this oval, then everything becomes vague and you can get it wrong right from the outset. So, having erased that, I can add the classic happy smiling mouth. You want to get the distance between the eyes and the mouth. You want to get a certain distance in there, which means basically getting this mouth pretty low down, almost touching that first guideline. In fact, it does seem to be touching it. It's not almost touching it, dude. It is totally touching that line. We can see it. In any case, I am going to add the ears now, or really just one ear, I think, is visible in this pose. Pretty low on the head. Although actually anatomically the ears are, lining up with the top of the ear lines up with the eyes anyway, so I guess it's not all that low on the head. And I don't like to do line-by-line instruction with hairstyles. People who watch my videos know that I like the idea of people using these poses for their own characters, sort of plugging in their own characters, not, reproducing line by line each and every aspect of my drawing. Although, I know that can be a confidence-building measure. And so, yeah, feel free if you want to replicate this hairstyle. But I think it would be kind of fun to break loose from the shackles of Creoliology and begin to invent your own hairstyles. In any case, having done that, why don't I'll just go ahead and quickly add, I decided this character is going to have a bow holding her, ponytail in place. And just going to sort of dash this in there real quickly. Again, I just don't see this as something that you necessarily want to copy line for line. And so I'm just going to break this ponytail into like 3 separate parts. And I'll get more into, adding detail to that at the end. Never want to forget the blushies. I know we got some real blushies fans out there. Now, what happens with some forms of chibi drawings? The blushies are drawn sometimes as just like little ovals, especially these joyous, happy blushies. Now I'm going to move on to drawing the boy's head. Let me shift the focus just a little bit so we have more space for his hair. Now, again, I'm going to go ahead and erase that initial guideline there, so as to make room for the rest of the facial features. And in this case, there really aren't that many, but again, we want to get the eyebrows right. This guy is being surprised, as one so often is when it comes to glomping. And so we want to get a good distance, get these eyebrows way up high, which is a classic, sort of internationally recognized sign of surprise. Get those way up high on the head, away from the eyes. And then I'm basically just going to drop in a tiny little oval mouth of surprise. And again, with the hair, I'm just going to do my style. One thing that's a little different that sometimes I tell people to leave a huge space between the top of the skull or scalp and between that and the outline of the hair. The way I've done it this time, in fact, the hair is kind of lining up with that scalp line, so I'm not going to be putting a huge gap in there, but I am going to have some spiky hair bits sort of shooting off to one side here. And finally, I'm going to give him just a little bit of a tuft of hair that's kind of flying up here that adds to that feeling of surprise. Whoa! I've been glomped. And I think we kind of got the basics there. With chibi drawings, you don't want to go too overboard with details. You'll kind of kill the life of the drawing. I'm going to add one last little strand of hair here. And let's move down to adding the details, what little there are, of the clothes and the hands and feet and so forth. As I said, I am going to give her the classic sailor suits that I just can't seem to break free of. What is it? It's almost like a disease, man. I cannot stop drawing the sailor suit on the female character. But how about if we'll do another one of my classic sacred vows here. Next time I draw a female character, she will not be wearing a sailor suit. How's that for a sacred vow? The way I like to do it is, and by having this sort of back part of the collar flying off, it adds to that feeling that she has really run up and glomped him from behind. And now I'm going to break this skirt into different sort of pleated areas. Normally, if you're doing like a realistic drawing, you would be focusing a lot of attention on these pleats and the folds and so forth. But again, with chibi drawings, you can kind of break free of that and keep things simple. Although I'll sometimes add like a little wrinkle here and there to remind people that this is supposed to be cloth. I'm going to come down here and, eventually I'm going to be doing final guidelines over this. Everything's very boxy at the start. Again, I find that makes it easy to sort of copy if you want to follow along. Easy to see these very basic shapes. Notice how small the feet are in a chibi drawing, generally speaking. Sometimes some people will get away with like feet that are not even differentiated from the rest of the calf or the lower part of the leg, they just sort of, I don't know, they look a little bit like those old, what was that show called? Powerpuff Girls. You know how they didn't, the feet were just part of a continuation of the leg. But I'm going to give these feet just a little differentiation from the rest of the leg. In fact, some people will not differentiate between the thigh and the calf. I, on the other hand, like to at least do a little bit of that, even when I'm doing a chibi drawing. So, we're getting that in there. We are adding in a line for the sock, the knee-high socks. And let's come on over here and do this dude. He's going to be wearing a t-shirt. Keep it simple. The hands in chibi drawings, generally the fingers, you want to keep them very, very sort of short and stubby. And last thing you want is highly detailed hands on a chibi drawing. I guess, you know, some people could make that work. I'm always hesitant to like issue decrees and laws, and it is always this way. It will never work if you do it this way. I hate that kind of thing. I always stop myself before I say that kind of thing. But I just notice when I look at chibi drawings that the fingers do tend to be kind of minimized and made cute. They almost look like little cat paws or something like that. This little area over here is going to need a little work, and I kept this so simple that I'm going to have to really draw something in here now to signify her other hand coming around his neck. Sounds like she's strangling him. And in a way she is. Strangling him with love. In any case, we're drawing another hand here coming across, and her hand is sort of connecting with her forearm of the other arm. Boy, I am so articulate today, but I think you get the idea. This is you know, the other arm is wrapping around and becomes visible. Now, I don't know how anatomically possible this is, but it does make for a very cute-looking hug. And almost done. I'm going to go ahead and drop in his pants and get a few wrinkles down here at the bottom of the cuffs or whatever, you know, at the bottom of the pant legs. Again, going to keep his shoes very minimized, not going too much into detail. That's I think part of the charm of a chibi drawing is you don't focus too much on the body. You know, you're letting the facial expression be the star of the show, and that's part of the effectiveness of the chibi technique, I think. All right, well, I think we got the basics of this, and I hope you let me know what you think of this approach of getting the basic guidelines done in time-lapse and then walking you through some of the more final-ish guidelines in real time. I'm going to go ahead and pull out my trusty black Prismacolor and do some final line work here all in time-lapse. All right, well, I feel like I'm almost done. One thing I want to do is add the word Daisuki over here, which is a little hard to translate. I guess it's I love you, but that sounds so serious. Thinking Daisuki sounds really cute. And then over here, I'm going to just put in the word Glomp to finish off the drawing. All right, well, I'm going to do something kind of unusual with this video, and that is I'm going to take this drawing that I've done here after I clean it up here and scan it into my computer, print it out on paper, and show you how you can color this in using markers. Unfortunately, I'll have to do most of that in time-lapse. But showing you how you can sort of do a photocopy and in that way minimize the risk in terms of ruining your drawing when it comes to adding color.